Welcome to the NitWits, a weekly roundtable discussion on the Penn State Nittany Lions, now in its 28th season. Our panel features a longtime Penn State media and NitWits tag team, Neil Rudel of the Altoona Mirror and Mark Brennan of Lions 24/7 with Fight on State. And each week we welcome a former Nittany Lion as our special guest analyst. The NitWits are brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Reed and Solaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Harry's Construction, if you can dream it, we can create it. By DeLeo Games, serving the community since 1945. By Keller Engineers, delivering results, exceeding expectations. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
Hey, what I'm doing, hey, getting right to it. The money is talking, I'm flowing, it's coming in just how I drew it. Yeah, you know what it is. Hey, we doing it big. Look up, there is no limit, no, we cannot settle for this. Yeah, can't stop, nah, won't stop. Yeah, spin on live. You don't believe it, just watch.
Welcome to Nittany Nation Overtime. We are the NitWits. A very shocking result. Penn State made a trip west, but the season has definitely taken a turn south, with Penn State losing to UCLA, stunning fashion, 42-37. I'm Neil Rudel, joined by Tyler Donahue of Lions 24/7. He is subbing for Brennan, who is traveling, and our old friend and original NitWit Mike Irwin, the 1966 team captain. Great to see you, Mike.
Well, it's good to be here. I've watched every show since you've been on the air this year.
I love that. And
you're still a NitWit.
You're still sponsoring the show. Yeah, everything went wrong. Nothing was impressive. Everything will be dissected here on the table. Weren't ready to play in any way. Let's start with you, Tyler. What disappointed and bothered you the most?
They brought in baggage from that Oregon game. Clearly, psychologically, they're not in the right place. There was a span from 2020 to 2021 where they went 11-11, and I think we all wondered how would they respond to that moment. The last 3 seasons, they have been emotionally stable. They have avoided these psychological slip-ups where you carry it with you, end up in a dark place. That era is done. Now, I don't know if it ended in mid-January down in South Florida and they haven't come out of that moment, or if it's something that is officially done as of yesterday out in Southern California. But this is now a moment where you question where the culture is, you question where the mental space is, from the head coach down to the quarterback, to the defenders, to the coordinators, and this is not the kind of inventory that we anticipated to be taking on the first weekend of October 2025.
Mm-hmm. That was well framed. Mike, how about you watching the game with your football eye? What disappointed you, surprised you the most?
Well, first I thought we got blindsided by UCLA being that good. They come out with a really good quarterback that he's a transfer in from UCLA? Tennessee. And the coaching changed. Jerry Neuhauser made the play calls all during the game and did a great job, but they carried him off the field at the end, if you saw that. And
what a moment for him. I mean, he's named the offensive coordinator on Tuesday. I was just most disappointed in the entire coaching staff. I think it was the worst single game that James has presided over. Both his coordinators were very disappointing, especially for all the preseason optimism about Jim Knowles. And, what were they doing? What were they doing at the end of the first half? The special teams getting caught, with an onside kick. I give UCLA credit for that, but I don't give Penn State credit for not being ready for it. And just everything they touched turned to mud.
Can we be honest? They were overwhelmed by UCLA. I mean, for much of this game, it wasn't like Penn State was going, exchanging blows. It was 27-7 at halftime. This is a UCLA team that averaged 14 points per game coming in. They were at 17 points through 3 possessions. And by the way, as you mentioned, Jerry Neuheisel, he was an assistant coach. He has never been in a position to be the offensive coordinator type role in a game. He's going up against the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football history in Jim Knowles. And the end result is 27 first half points. And you thought maybe they could stop the bleeding defensively, but time and time again, Nico at quarterback was able to scramble. They didn't have Tony Rojas, who would be their preferred spy, but I'm sorry. You've got a roster that needs to be deep enough to replace a guy like Tony Rojas against what is clearly a one-man show offensively. Nico goes for 128 rushing yards. His career high coming into the matchup was 65. So they got exposed in some really startling, jarring, and concerning ways.
How do you defend that, the running quarterback like that? Tyler mentioned a spy, but what did you see?
Well, Gary Danielson expressed it very well. He said they needed a spy on defense because all the offensive or defensive line weren't really getting to the quarterback, and he was running at will. Nobody picked him up after he broke the line of scrimmage, and he was really good at quarterback.
No question. And he created a lot of headlines by transferring from Tennessee over in NIL. One thing that stuck with me is he had 3 runs on third down for 94 yards, including a 52-yarder in the third quarter. They just could not. Their tackling was bad. What disappointed me the most is they just didn't appear ready to play in any facet.
At UCLA, you got to give them credit that
Yeah, Penn State had more fans out there than they did, and yet here was UCLA with their players. They hadn't led all season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got the impression that there was one side at Penn State that was content to show up and think that was enough. And there was another side that knew they had to self-generate their own momentum. The crowd wasn't going to do it for them, and they did that. And ultimately, this is a UCLA squad that through 4 previous games, a schedule that included UNLV, New Mexico, Northwestern, they couldn't muster a single lead. They're up by 20 on this Penn State team at halftime. I'm with you. This is the worst performance we've seen from a James Franklin-led football team, and there's a lot of questions coming off of that.
I kind of watched the Northwestern game in UCLA.
Yeah.
And that quarterback from UCLA came at the last quarter. They were down 17-0 to Northwestern, and he came back and scored, touchdown and 2 field goals. So
well, he carried that.
He carried him. He was turning a corner, I think, ability-wise.
Well, he carried that momentum into the Penn State game. Okay, we're going to take our first break and be back here with the NitWits right after this.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Irwin Financial Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Reed and Salaney Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntingdon. And by Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back. During the break, we're going to focus here on the defense in this segment. But Mike, you made a point that they didn't really get after Nico, the quarterback, too well.
No, he had all day. The defensive line wasn't really penetrating at all in there, and that's what they said on the game when I watched the game about not getting to the putting a spy on got some guy to follow him because. That's the story with these quarterbacks these days. They got a lot of quarterbacks that can run with a football and, pass and run, I guess.
Well, the Oregon quarterback Moore last week, he was very slick and maneuvering, and Penn State had no sacks last week.
Yeah, clearly Abdul Carter's a really good player, and they don't have him anymore. But I think the concern for me, especially moving forward after what we saw against UCLA, is how important was Tony Rojas to disrupting the opposing backfield? And do you have a suitable replacement? I love the Don DeLuca story. He's a 3-time team captain. He's played about 1,000 career defensive snaps. but he's just not the athlete that Tony Rojas was. There's a reason he was a former top 100 prospect. Dom was a walk-on. It's been a great story, but you couldn't rely on him to play that volume of snaps. I think he played all but one defensive snap, and there's a concern right now of the inability to cultivate some of that young linebacker talent. They didn't really utilize those 3 cupcake non-conference games. You didn't get a lot of work to the freshmen, the redshirt freshmen. You got Keon Wiley coming off of an injury last year, and so right now I don't know much about this linebacker room beyond the 2 guys that they're starting. Amari Campbell, I think, has been a really strong addition from North Carolina, but him and Tony Rojas, they're old friends from Virginia high school scene. They were playing outstanding off each other. They were getting to the backfield, and you don't have one of those guys right now, and you've got to come up with a solution if you're Jim Knowles and your linebackers coach Dan Connor. Well,
you mentioned Jim Knowles, and just to me, really disappointing. If I had to say, which side of the ball was worse, yesterday, to me, it was the defense. I mean, the offense has been disappointing. We're going to get to that. But, hey, the defense comes out flat. You're down 7-0 immediately. And then when the offense does cut it to a touchdown twice, including on a block punt, usually a block punt for a touchdown, you win the game, the defense couldn't hold it. Just like it couldn't hold the lead in overtime against Oregon.
I blame that on the schedule. They played the opening 3 games against nobody, and back in the day, I remember they always had blue chip teams on the schedule. And now they're really soft with and I don't think they were ready or had enough focus on the.
I think that's a fair point, Mike. I mean, but I don't know. And Tyler, you're great with the roster. How is linebacker void of linebackers? Is Arrington's kid ready to play yet?
I think he's probably 3rd on the pecking order. You talk about freshman Cam Smith out of Philadelphia. They like him at the will linebacker position. Alex Tash got some run against Villanova. He's about 15 pounds heavier than Smith. I think he's a little more ready right now. But neither of them have gotten their feet wet. They haven't really, to get them in a Big Ten game on the road and say, go do it, would have been nice to kind of get some momentum building at home against cupcake teams. And, I mean, you can't poke a lot of holes in what they did the first 3 weeks from a production standpoint. They gave up a last-second touchdown against Villanova. The other touchdown they gave up was with 25 seconds left against Nevada. But look what they did against Oregon. 3 points surrendered against a high-octane Oregon team through the first 40 minutes of that matchup, and yet you get 27 points on the board for a UCLA team, double their average for the entire game.
I agree with that, except a lot of these teams have kept the ball against them. They've converted a lot of 3rd downs.
Oregon
They've
included.
Converted a lot of 4th downs. How about Dennis Sutton? He did not look healthy to me yesterday.
Yeah, up until this point, he was outstanding, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happened to him. He didn't seem like he was focused on the game. But I blame that on the schedule, because it's like tennis or any other sport. You play, the tougher your competition, the better you're going to play. And I don't think Penn State had enough experience with good teams that would have made a difference when they came out there.
I don't know why you're bringing up tennis. You used to beat me in tennis kind of regularly.
You were very good.
So where's the defense headed, as we move to the next portion, the next game? You have Northwestern. You're going to be a 3-touchdown favorite to beat them. We'll get to our picks a little bit later, but what adjustments are they going to make?
Yeah, it's hard to take much for granted no matter who you're playing because of what we saw against UCLA. I think what they've got to do is they've really got to be able to go too deep at linebacker and see what that looks like. They've got to get some exposure to those younger players. I think on the defensive front, let's see a little bit more of Chaz Coleman. He did a lot of special things in non-conference play, but it has really been denied Dennis Sutton, Zariah Fisher, 2 senior guys getting a ton of run. He's a really dynamic presence. I know he's kind of a wiry true freshman right now out of Ohio, but people tell you he's going to be an eventual top 10 NFL talent is what the feedback is from that building. I think it's time to let him loose a little bit, and ultimately Jim Knowles, it's on you, man. I mean, you're getting paid the big bucks. You're coming off a national championship. Everyone viewed his addition as a further proof that this is an all-in season. And right now, to your point, it wasn't the offense that deserved the most criticism. It was Jim Knowles' defense, because I thought after halftime they would button it up. They'd figure it out. You remember last year against Bowling Green, they gave up like 24 points in the first half. Really strong second half. They had the same issues in the second half. They let their offense down repeatedly. If you score 37 points against UCLA, that needs to be a win 100% of the time.
Meanwhile, Ohio State's only allowed 25 points all year. Okay, we're going to flip to the other side of the ball and examine the offense right after this.
The NitWits are being brought to you by Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Dorman's Jewelry. The answer is always Dorman's. And by Harry's Construction. If you can dream it, we can create it.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Welcome back. We're dissecting the loss to UCLA. By the way, it's the first time in 40 years that a winless team defeated a top 10 team. So there's a demerit on this game from Penn State in a lot of different ways. Offensively, what is going on with the slow starts? I mean, and it was really a little bit in the non-conference, but nobody paid that much attention to it. Now you've managed a field goal against Oregon and one touchdown against UCLA. What's Andy doing?
Yeah, not ideal to be down 10-0 before your quarterback takes his first snap in this situation, but you're right. It leaves a lot to be desired for the continuity with an offensive coordinator in year 2, with your same starting quarterback who's over 33 career starts now. You've got the same quarterbacks coach, 5 offensive linemen who've started for you before, 2 senior running backs behind them, and 3 transfer receivers who are all seniors and were team captains and productive at their last school. There's no excuse for you not to be on the same page. What we've watched so far, including the tinkering that appeared to be in the non-conference game, is more reminiscent of a new offensive coordinator, and yet we're not really seeing much different from last year other than there's no big number 44 racking up 104 receptions. So I think right now Andy Kotelnicki's star, and it was a rising star for a while, it's starting to dwindle a little bit, and he's got some things to prove, and so does the quarterback. But to me, they got to figure out what they want to be as a ground game, because they have the ability, I think, to have a feature back in Kaytron Allen, and we'll probably get to that, and they just have not embraced that.
Well, I thought the quarterback, Drew Aller, had a good game.
Yeah,
I agree.
It was not on him.
And they were down there with 4th and 2 at the end of the game. And that terrible play call, the offensive line they let a big gap down there. The guy ran up through it, made the tackle.
That jet sweep and going horizontal stuff wasn't working all game long, though, right?
Yeah,
and to use it there is tough.
But I agree. But you know what? Kind of the most effective offensive play they had was Aller running the ball out of a scramble mode. It wasn't necessarily designed runs, but I agree, Mike. That turned out to be a bad call, one of the bad calls. But I mean, they did put up at least 30 points when you add in the block punt.
The running back situation with Allen and Singleton, I think Singleton, we talked about this earlier, but I don't think he's got enough running room. When he gets out in the open, he can run. He's fast. I think he's a little faster than Allen. Allen's a stronger runner and been more valuable to Penn State this year so far.
Yeah,
well, the yards per carry, which really measures the running back, Allen is almost double Singleton. He's 7.1, I think, and Singleton is just about 4.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't seem. Joe used to say, "What's a great tailback? A guy you get in the secondary 2 or 3 times a game."
And now there's I think it's a 3-game sample size now, going back to, I guess, the Villanova matchup in the first 2 Big Ten games, where about 40% of Nick Singleton's carries, after I did some math, they're resulting in 2-yard gain or less. That is setting you back. That is making not manageable down and distance situations. And I just don't understand why there's a hesitancy to use Kaytron early. I mean, you've seen him. He's a tone setter. This is an offense that needs to start setting tones, and they're getting him involved in the second, third quarters. He had 6 total touches going into the fourth quarter.
But is that the offensive line's concern more? To open up a few holes for Singleton.
They should be better.
I mean, whether they're open holes or not, Kaytron Allen's finding 7 yards a pop.
You know, I was looking down the spreads on the offensive linemen. I mean, these wide spreads, and they're just running through, run right through the line because of these gapping holes that they have.
Maybe the most disappointing unit on this team so far compared to what preseason expectations were. I mean, our own Mark Brennan was talking about 1994's offensive line, which is held in such high esteem. We figured out pretty early it wasn't going to be the case. And just to note, TJ Shanahan got to start at right guard yesterday. You saw Nolan Rucci go to the sideline, Anthony Donko play at right tackle. So maybe it is time to retool this thing, because it has not been the authoritative presence that it was supposed to be.
A couple things on special teams. I also couldn't understand why they wouldn't rush the punter with 25 seconds to go when they basically conceded a safety, and it allowed them to melt about 8 seconds. Then when Penn State did get the ball back, have they heard of a Hail Mary?
I
mean, I don't know what you're doing at that point. I did think Hudson played a pretty good game. Reynolds, the fumble really hurt when you came out of the half. You turned the ball over there. He probably could have made a great catch in the end zone for a touchdown that would tie the game. He wasn't able to come up to it. Throw was a little high. But I just, again, a lot of the problems here, most of the problems were on defense and some special teams. But I think the offense could have been better.
4th and 2, game on the line, potentially season on the line. You go horizontal. You have Katron Allen watching from the sideline. He was watching that entire series. He has been their most effective, their best offensive player going back to last December. They haven't treated him like it. He's treated like a supplemental piece. When things go awry for this offense, he needs to be their North Star. He has not been treated like that by the staff.
Okay, we're going to be back with our Northwestern preview and picks right after this.
The NitWits are being brought to you by DeLeo Games, serving the community since 1945. By Keller Engineers, delivering results, exceeding expectations. By Lions 24/7 with Fight On State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State game day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday.
You're watching Nittany Nation Overtime.
Yeah, welcome back. That's, in the old days we had what you called a deflated ball. And when everybody picks the other team and the other against the other team and the other team wins. And right now the deflated ball would be tied for first place. So moving on to Northwestern, Penn State in a regrouping mode. Go ahead, Tyler. Why don't you make your pick first?
Yeah, I think there's definitely another case to be made that there'll be a hangover effect and a team that's a little sleepwalkish through the first part of this game. But I think offensively, I'm in a better place with Drew Aller coming out of this game than I was coming out of the Oregon game. Again, the ground game, if you can get Katron Allen going, I think they'll score enough points. I think the defense has a bit of a rebound. I'll go 34-14 Penn State over Northwestern.
Okay, and you're picking for Brennan.
Yeah, so hopefully for Brennan, I get this one right.
Mike, how about you?
I watched Northwestern and UCLA play just before we came out for the show here.
Oh, you're doing homework.
Doing some homework. And they surprised me, Northwestern, how good they are. I think Penn State's going to have some issues with them. I think Penn State still wins. I want to say.
Thought you were going to bet against. You're going to make a headline here.
I didn't make any season predictions.
Right.
Your prediction's already gone. So I could say 10-2 or 8-3.
Well, we're waiting for your Northwestern pick.
Okay. Northwestern, Penn State 27, Northwestern 10.
All right. I'm going to say Penn State 29, Northwestern 6. We're going to find out about the character, the leadership of this team. I do think it could be an ugly scene down there before the game. You saw Fire Franklin chants at the Oregon game. I think that's uncomfortable, but the pregame introductions, I think the team is going to have to be resilient to that type of thing, and take a step toward seeing what kind of a season this can still be.
Yeah, you guys have both been in Beaver Stadium a lot more than I have, but I am fully anticipating walking into the most toxic environment that I've encountered in that stadium on Saturday. These players better realize their coach is going to get booed on the big screen when he's introduced. If things go awry, if they have a rough start, that crowd will turn it into a hostile environment for the home team because it's a hornet's nest right now in Happy Valley. And to be honest, the Fire Franklin chants may not even wait till kickoff. So they've got to be ready to tune that out, take care of their business, because the only way they reverse course on that is by winning.
Okay, well, hey, Tyler, I appreciate you coming down. You filled in before, and it's hard to replace Brennan, but I think you did okay today.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you guys.
Mike, always good to see you. Appreciate the support and the friend you've been to me and the show. Mike Lukac will be here next week, a special debut guest nitwit. Want to thank everybody for watching. Hopefully it'll be a better news show next week.
The Nitwits have been brought to you by Irwin Financial, Raymond James, a firm foundation for your financial future. By Reed and Solani Orthodontics, providing friendly, family-focused orthodontic care in Altoona, Bedford, and Huntington. By Kogan Electric, lighting the way for you. By Blair Candy Company, the one-stop shop for all your tailgating needs. Candy, snacks, paper supplies, and more. By Dorman's Jewelry, the answer is always Dorman's. By Harry's Construction, if you can dream it, we can create it. By DeLeo Games, serving the community since 1945. By Keller Engineers, delivering results, exceeding expectations. By Lions 24/7 with Fight on State, your online home for Penn State football and recruiting coverage. And by the Altoona Mirror, featuring Penn State Game Day every Friday and Penn State Extra every Monday. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.